Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to be checking out a track that was requested only twice. Once was a while ago, and once was more recently. We have Dimitri and Elric Casa Ailason. I am so sorry that I butchered that name. It's in tiny print too, so it's probably even worse than if I could read it properly. They've asked for a band called Dirty Loops, and specifically one song called Work Shit Out. So, let's get into this. We got an almost 8-minute song here, so kind of excited. I like longer songs.
I better work shit out, but I like it too much. Spending all my money like I just can't get enough. I better work shit out.
Very upbeat. Ooh, nice little vocal bend.
You bring the rain. I'm gonna drop, but if I fall out, then I got no one to be to blame.
I like that rhythm.
But still, I got the sparkle. I'm soaking up the heat. Guess I know I should resist, but I'm sucker for the kiss so sweet. Hey! I better work shit out, but I like it too much.
That bass line is funky.
I better work shit out, but it's killing my buzz. Sending all my sorries, still I just can't kill a rush. I better work shit out, but I like it too much. Spending all my money like
Digging it. Ooh, those little accents on the steel snare, I think it was. That was dirty. I like how it has like a jazz fusion feel musically, but he's giving it this pop edge in his vocals. Really, really nice combination. That bass line is just so good. That drum fill was clean too. That was a real fast drum fill, and it wasn't muddy at all. That guy was just precision on point. I love their dynamics. Nice little mix. We got it soft and kind of slow here, but the drums are just kind of keeping that beat going. Everybody else is slowed down, but that drummer's still pushing. Those little bass slides are adding a lot of character to this section. It could have just been a simple piano solo, but between the fast drums and those bass slides, it's something totally different. It's not the classical piano that I kind of would expect there. Whoa, getting back into that funk. So So the drummer showed off a bit at the end of the fast section. Now we got the pianist showing off a lot. Just got this nice little piano solo here and tearing it up. Showing a lot of his chops too. We got the slow melodic side. Now we got these heavy fast rhythms. And that bass ain't slacking either. He's carrying that bass line heavy. He has a fun idea of time. I was getting into that groove. You can still kind of feel that forward pulse that the song's in, but that drummer was all over the place there. Ooh. Huh. That's an interesting way to end it. We still got 30 seconds, so listen to this little outro. Alright. Yeah, dude, that was cool. That was real cool. Like, yeah, we need more of that on the channel. I don't really know if I have much to say about it. I think from an analytical perspective, I would really need some sheet music to see some of the cool things that they're doing. Um, I mean, just from a first time hearing, trying to take it all in and trying to understand what's happening a lot, happening throughout all the stuff they're doing. The real big takeaway is that these guys are technical masters at their instrument. The drummer showed, extreme skill between keeping the beat in a couple of sections, but really spicing it up, throwing in some odd accents, and playing with time feel a lot, especially during his solo. Um, I'm pretty sure that whole solo was. I mean, it could have went into free time, given that he's the only instrument. But at least when the bass came back in, he came back in on 4/4, even though the bassist, I mean, the drummer was still doing some six pulse stuff. So, and I mentioned during his solo that he just has a real fun way of viewing time, and I mean, I really couldn't predict many of his rhythmic patterns. The ideas he was doing was just so far out there from what I would think to do, um, given the situation and the time signature and the environment and the rest of the song. He really thinks way outside of the box for his stuff, and I kind of get the feeling this is a jam session in part. There's obviously scripted aspects of it, but I feel like a lot of it was improvised. If it's not, I mean, they got fantastic memories to put some of that stuff together. Um, but I do feel like the guitar solo, nope, there was no guitar. The piano solo and the drum solo were improvised. And if that's true, if what I'm feeling is correct, then the drummer's ability to just think of this stuff on the fly. I mean, I know any type of musician that improvises often has ideas that they fall back on, things that they incorporate into a lot of their works. You know, you practice a lot and you play solos a lot, and you're playing music all the time. You have ideas that just feel natural to you, and you can whip out at any moment. I'm sure some of those fills or some of those rhythmic ideas were not entirely unique. It's just how he phrased them against the rest of his solo and stuff like that. But still, just to be able to whip that out when he needs to, and just like, I don't know, just thinking that way. I can't even imagine how he thinks about music in relationship to time. It's phenomenal. The bassist didn't really get a specific section to shine by himself, but he did play some really dirty bass lines everywhere. I mean, he's got lightning fingers, and he's got this his tone and the strings that he uses, and whatever his pickups are, and basically everything that he's chosen hardware wise. It just creates this nice warm, like, punchy sound, but it's not overly punchy. It's not like a metal bass sound that's kind of too much. Um, a lot of metal bassists like to think of the bass as this punchy instrument that needs these low lows and just this really wide sound that can cut through everything. And this was more of like a jazzy bass sound where it had that oomph, it had that punch, but it wasn't in excess. You know, it was still a very wide sound, especially when he did those runs, and you got the staccato-ness, the shortness of each of the notes, and kind of that accent on all of them. Um, there was just this nice punch to it all. Um, but I mean, just raw talent in him as well, even though he didn't get a specific point to showcase um, his playing. I mean, his fingerprints were everywhere. Every part of the song would have been 10 times worse without him playing there. Um, and then the pianist and singer. I mean, I mentioned his singing style is kind of it's not at odds with the musical style, but it's a combination that you don't typically hear. Usually when you're playing music like this, you have I don't want to say more of a jazzy sound, because then you would think swing, or at least I do. When someone says jazzy, I kind of go towards the swing aspect of jazz. Um, but it's definitely not so embellished. Unless, I mean, jazz singers do a lot of scatting in their solos, and you get a lot of embellishment in that. But for straight up singing, when you're doing the vocals, the lyrics of the song, usually don't get the kind of embellishment that he was putting in there. And he had a ton of ornamentation with his runs, and just like little, uh, almost like a peak. Like he'll hit a note, quickly hit a higher note, and then come back down to the first note, and it's just like this little, like a warble, like a trill, but for singing. And it's these little things that give it a pop edge to a song that is not pop in any fashion. There is pop music that uses the pop sound with a little bit more technicality to it, but you would never hear anything on this level. This is too technical to really hit a mainstream audience. Um, Way too technical. This is kind of going into jazz fusion and bebop territory, and they weren't even easily understood enough for mainstream jazz people, mainstream jazz listeners back in the 40s and 50s and six. I gotta brush up on my bebop history. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was so out there that they really didn't even get to play it in the jazz clubs too often because nobody really showed up. Nobody understood it. It wasn't the swing that everybody was used to. So I mean, if jazz people had a hard time getting into it, pop people, modern pop people are definitely going to have a hard time getting into this. It is very technical, very complex. Um, and like I said, you usually don't pair that with the musical style, but it works because he used a lot of complex ideas from pop. A lot of the runs and the embellishments and the ornamentations and the little like trills. I don't know what you would call a vocal trill. Um, and little things like that. And he uses his voice just as technically as he was using the piano or the drummer was playing or the bass was running up and down the strings. I mean, it fit in a strange way. I never thought I would ever say that pop vocals should go with technical jazz. I mean, it's just not something I would have ever thought of. So that's really cool. And then his piano playing is just real clean. He he's got a good sense of chords and chord relationships. They had some really interesting progressions in there, and but then on the other side of playing melody, he had these really nice sweet melodies at the beginning of the soft section. They were dang. These guys have like blown my brain. I'm having a hard time putting thoughts together. Let's see. He had a good sense of using space when needed to create not easier melodies, but not as complex, more simplistic. But then when he was ready to break out and the drums came back in, the bass came back in, he was just running all over that keyboard with his fingers and just playing these amazing sweeps up and down the instrument and two instruments at one time, which I can play piano, but both my hands are in front of me and I kind of need that. I can't imagine, you know, two keyboards at 90 degrees from each other and having to only use your peripheral vision to see one of your hands and making sure it's in the right spot. I mean, there's a lot of muscle memory and practice that goes into it. I get it, but on the other side, it's just, whew, that's talent right there. That is talent. So that's wow, dirty loops. I am digging them. I wonder if, well, yeah, I do wonder this, but I kind of wonder this about every band. It's kind of a normal thing I say. I wonder if this is indicative of what they play all the time, or if this is more of a one-off to showcase their skills. Maybe their other stuff is more on the less technical side, less chaotic side. A lot of this was chaos, very controlled chaos. That tempo is just booking the whole time, other than the middle section with the little piano, the piano section. But I don't know. I would also. I'm jumping around a lot here. I got a lot of things I'm thinking about with this band. Let me know if this is indicative of their style, or if they have anything that's less chaotic or less. I don't want to say less, more musical. That ain't right either. I don't know. Just let me know if they got more stuff that I should listen to. All right, because this was the only song that's been requested. Hit me up with more songs. I don't even care what style it's in or how they're playing. I gotta listen to more of these people. And let me know if there's been any interviews or any information about if this was improvised or a jam session in any sort. Like I said, there's definitely a few sections that were rehearsed and are played as they're supposed to be. That they're very structured sections, but there were a couple of sections that to me were solos, and I would pretty much wager that they were improvised. And I think that's really cool because, as far as I know, everything we've listened to on this channel so far has been structured. I don't think we've ever listened to any section in any song that's been improvised. I know that's not really a rock and metal thing, and that's what I've reacted to mostly, pretty much 99% of my channel. But I do have a jazz background a little bit. I enjoy jazz music. I enjoy that I word I just for improvised music and improvisation. I like to see people being composers on the fly. I think that is the ultimate goal. I mean, structured music definitely has its place, but it's the perfect merging of composition and musicianship. You are composing on the fly with no chance to hit Control Z. So, I mean, that's some cool stuff. I always love improvisation. So let me know what you guys thought about dirty loops in the comments. If you enjoyed them, if it was too complex, too chaotic for you, I understand it's not for everyone. Um, but on a musical level, I think pretty much everybody can appreciate what they did. And while you're down there in the comments, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, and I will be back tomorrow with another reaction, 11 a.m. as usual. And I think next week I'm going to be doing a bring the band back on the channel kind of thing, and all 5 days will be old bands, new songs. Not old bands like they're old bands, but bands we've already reacted to, new songs for them. And I'm gonna try to stay away from like System of a Down and Ginger, who've already done like 3 or 4 songs each on. Um, but let me know who you guys want to see the most. See me have a second reaction. That's it. Let's bring a second reaction to some of these bands. Let me know who you want them to be. All right, we've gone through quite a few bands now, and I've always said I wanted to return to them. Let's get around to that. All right, so hit me up with those over today when this releases, and the day after, and then Friday. And then, next week, Monday through Friday, we'll have new videos out for older bands we've already done. All right. I don't know why you're still listening to me ramble, but I appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow. Nope, you'll see me tomorrow. I don't ever see any of you. We should probably change that. Let's do something cool. I gotta figure out something cool so we can all see each other. That'd be pretty cool. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. Y'all have a fantastic day.